about what has to happen when a knight attacks. All right, so there's two things that have to happen that are the big picture, and then we can sort of break those down into more details, which, there's some richness in how a knight attacks a dragon or a dragon attacks a knight. So the knight is going to roll to hit, okay? So roll to hit, right? Roll to hit the dragon. And then if the roll to hit is good, so maybe we, instead of saying roll to hit, we're going to say is hit. All right, when the knight attacks, is hit. When the knight has hit, then what we want to do is roll damage. Okay, so I think we should return them. I have to think about this. Let's do roll to hit. So that's the roll. And let's get the roll when we roll is equal to roll to hit. And then if the roll is good enough, maybe we'll say if is hit roll, then what we'll do is we will say int damage equals roll damage. Okay, that's pretty cool. That's a good start. All right. Now, thinking about this program, we're going to roll to hit, and if the roll is a hit, then we're going to roll damage. All right. So, but the thing is, so this is like the first pass in thinking about it. But thinking about it a little bit more, we're not going to roll. Well, okay, yeah, we could roll damage based on the weapon that the knight is using, and we're going to roll to hit based on some information about the knight, and we'll determine if it's a hit or not based on some information about the roll and the dragon. All right, so let's think about when we want to roll to hit. If we're rolling to hit, we need to know, does the knight have a bonus? Does the knight have a hit bonus? So the knight might be really good at hitting stuff. And I think that's all we need to know. So if the knight hit bonus is there, that's something that we're going to need to pass in. Okay, because if you're going to roll to hit with something, you might be good at it. Just like the knight had a bonus here. Okay, so we have a hit bonus. Same thing with roll damage. The knight might have a int. The knight has a weapon. And the weapon might have a damage bonus as well. Okay, so we've got a knight hit bonus and a weapon damage bonus. So we'll put the weapon damage bonus in here. Okay, cool. Now, when we try to hit, part of the whether you hit or not is based on your roll. Like if you roll really high as a knight, as the monster, or the knight as the dragon or the knight, if you roll really high, that means that you are probably going to hit. But how high do you need to roll? Well, that's based on. Oops, I just noticed I messed this up here. So this is the knight bonus. This is the weapon damage bonus, but it's not, we don't say int there. It's just, actually, that's not even useful right there. Okay. The weapon damage bonus goes up here. All right. So when you roll damage, what you're trying to do is you take the weapon damage bonus. I'm sorry, when you roll a hit, okay, part of it is based on, I'm getting a little confused here. Oh, here we go. Okay. When you hit, when you're trying to hit, what you need to do is look at the roll that you made to hit, but you also need to look at how good is the dragon at protecting itself. So int dragon armor class. That's how good the dragon is at protecting itself. So we're going to put armor class here. Dragon armor class. Okay. So, all right. So this is pretty good. I said this night attacks thing is really complicated, but it's actually, now that we've written just sort of tried to sketch out what's involved, it looks like we just have to write three methods. A roll to hit method, which basically tries to roll to hit a creature. An is a hit method that looks at the roll and finds out whether the roll was enough to hit the creature. And that's partially based on how good the roll was, but also based on how good the creature is at dodging. All right, dodging the roll. Or, if it's a dragon, dragons have scales, and the scales are really thick. So even if you hit a dragon, maybe you don't really hit it to hurt it. Okay. And then if we hit, there's some damage that's going to be done to the dragon. And so the damage is calculated based on the weapon damage bonus. But actually, if I make this damage thing really generic, then I think I need to know how strong the weapon is as well. Not just the weapon damage bonus, but like if you use a big sword versus a dagger, it's going to be doing more damage. If you swat at something with your hand versus use a powerful, fire breathing weapon on someone, that's going to do more damage. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just say roll sword damage here, since we're using a sword. And now that I think about it, I guess if we have sword damage, I don't really need the weapon damage bonus. That just makes things more confusing. So we'll get rid of that. All right, that looks fairly clear now. So we're going to roll the hit and determine if we actually hit. And if we did, we're going to determine the damage using our roll sword damage roll. Now, we need to return that, though, to the caller, because we need to know how much damage we did to the dragon. That's what night attacks, that's really the goal of night attacks. How much damage did we do to the dragon? So we'll say int, and that'll tell us how much damage we did to the dragon. So, all right, so that means that this damage here probably can't be in there. Oh, we could do it this way. We could say return roll sword damage, else we'll return 0. We didn't do any damage. 0 means we didn't hit or we didn't do any damage. Okay? So we'll just say we hit the dragon. Okay. We missed the dragon. Now, if you remember a little bit earlier, I talked about a lot of other things that could happen, like you could have a really good hit or a really bad miss. But when you're writing code for the first time for a method and you're trying to figure out what to do, you don't want to worry about doing too many things, right? I can come back and change this code to deal with those special cases of, a really super awesome hit or a really not so great hit, okay? So Now, I can't run knight attacks until I write the code for roll to hit, is hit, and roll sword damage. And actually, now that I'm looking at is hit, I'm realizing that even that's a little bit complicated because the basic rule is if you roll something that's greater than or equal to the armor class of something else, you hit it. So that's perfect. If roll is greater than or equal to dragon armor class, we're gonna return the sword damage. Otherwise, we'll return 0. All right. I think that the code for dragon attacks is going to be very similar, but I don't even want to go there yet. What I want to do is flesh out these two methods, roll to hit and roll sword damage. Okay, so let's write the code for roll to hit. Oh, but I don't even want to write that. I'm just going to write a dummy method because I'd really like to get this to work. Just to see, does this design for knight attacks, does it make sense? So int roll, public static int roll to hit. Oops. Roll to hit. All right. And it takes a bonus as an argument. All right. So when you roll to hit, it is very much like doing the initiatives that we have here. You just roll a d20. Get to the beginning here. Okay. Return. We're just going to roll a d20. And we're going to add to that the bonus. Oh, wait. I'm trying to solve the problem here. I don't want to do that. Let's say the roll to hit is 14. Okay. We're just going to hard code it. And roll sword damage, we're going to do the same thing for the sword damage. We just want to get this to work without thinking too hard about it. So roll sword damage. All right, and here we are going to return, let's say our sword damage is 10. Okay, they're just arbitrary numbers. We're just doing it to make something up. Okay, so now we have stub code for roll to hit and roll sword damage, and the reason why is we're trying to see if we can get this knight attacks method to work. All right, so there's knight attacks, and when we call knight attacks, we're returning a value, right? So we got to do something with that. So if, so we're going to say int damage equals knight attacks, all right? And then down here, we'll do the same thing. Int damage equals knight attacks. And we'll say system.out.println, just so we can see what the knight did. Damage okay, cool. So now we got some feedback that the knight did so many points of damage. And now that I'm looking at that, I think it probably doesn't belong here. It's probably going to belong maybe in knight attack so we get that feedback. But for right now, let's just get it to run, see what happens. Okay, looks like we got a little error there on line 97. Let's see if we can fix that. Didn't like line 97. If roll, oops, got an extra paren. Gotta be really careful when you're counting your parens and get into trouble. Missing some semicolons. You know, I've been programming for a long time, but I still forget to put semicolons in sometimes. Part of that's because some languages don't actually require them. They're optional. Okay, now it's mad because knight attacks doesn't have the argument that is the bonus that a knight gets. So let's add that. Final int knight to hit bonus. We'll give knight a +2 again. And while we're at it, let's create one for the dragon. Final int dragon to hit bonus. And let's say dragon's pretty dangerous. Yeah, you shouldn't mess with dragons. All right, so we're going to pass in the knight to hit bonus. Because when a knight attacks, we look up here, we're going to take that knight hit bonus. Oh, I see. It's called a hit bonus. We'll call it the same name. I want to be consistent in my naming convention because that's another way you can introduce chaos into your code. If you've got many different names for the same variable, try to avoid that. Try to make things consistent as much as possible. Okay, looks like we have a second call to knight attacks down here, and that also needs the knight hit bonus. Okay, and compile and run, and I think we'll be, I'm hoping we're going to be in good shape. All right, what else did I forget? Oh, let's see. Oh, we forgot the dragon armor class. Okay, so there's a dragon armor class. So there's also a knight one as well. So final int knight armor class. We'll say the knight's armor class is 20. That's a pretty good armor class. I mean, you have to roll a 20 on a 20-sided die with your bonus to hit the knight. That's going to be hard for the dragon. Dragon armor class. And let's set the dragon's armor class equal to 15 because it's just, maybe it's a little bit easier to hit that dragon. Okay, even if it has scales. Whoops, forgot to add that to the call to knight attack, so let's go back to that because we're going to get an error. So, dragon armor class and dragon armor class. Okay, let's compile and run this. I think we're really close to getting it to run again. Awesome. Okay, so we ran this and it looks like the knight got to go first, but the knight did 0 points of damage. Then the dragon attacked. All right, so let's run it again. Oh, the dragon attacked and the knight did 0 points of damage. It seems like the knight just can't cut a break. Of course, every time we run this, what's random is whether the knight goes first or the dragon goes first, but not actually the outcome of the knight attacking the dragon. And that's because, let's go back up a little bit. That's because we've hard-coded the results of roll to hit and roll sword damage. So if you think about this, roll to hit is returning a 14. And if we add the knight's bonus to that, to hit bonus, that's +2, that's 16. And we're comparing a roll of 16 to the dragon armor class. Well, the dragon's armor class is 15. So that means that the knight should be hitting the dragon, right? Let's think about that. So our roll is 16, and our dragon armor class is 15. So 16 is greater than or equal to 15, so we should return sword damage, which is 10. So we should be returning 10. So why aren't we returning 10? That's a little weird. I did damage points of damage, and damage should be 10. This is interesting. Well, why don't we put a system out print line statement right here? So one thing that's kind of cool about this is I'm not exactly sure why this isn't working. So that's fine. So what we're going to do is put a probe in here. So I think that this line of code here should be getting executed, but it looks like this line of code is getting executed instead. We're returning 0 from knight attacks. So let's print out the value of roll right here, system.out.println. Roll was, and we'll output the value of roll. All right, and run this. Whoops. Just misspelled print and print line. Sure that's happened to you too. That happens to the best of us. All right, so let's see. What do we get for output? So the roll was 14. So what's interesting is that the bonus for the knight hit bonus, that didn't appear to get added to the roll. Oh, of course it didn't get added because we hard coded the roll to hit to be 14. That's why it's not appearing. Do you see that? So even though we call roll to hit and we rolled a 14, we're not adding the knight hit bonus to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix the problem by actually adding in the right thing here for roll to hit. So roll to hit is going to be a roll d20 plus the bonus. And when we roll the sword damage, we're going to, swords are pretty powerful, so we're going to have the sword do a roll d12. And we're going to add something to that because the knight's pretty strong. So the knight's going to get a little bonus. So we're going to say +5 to that. Okay? Maybe the sword's a little magical too. I don't know. So we're going to roll d12 for damage and then +5, add +5 to that. All right? So, I don't have any code for roll d12, but I do have a roll d20. And so I can take that and write another method here called roll d12. Now, in one of your homework assignments, you're going to have to write a much more generic dice roller where you specify how many sides you want for the die and it has to roll. So you could specify 100 or 12 or 15 or whatever, and it'll give you a value between 1 and that number. Here, though, we're just going to have a couple of specific methods, one for rolling a d20 and one for rolling a d12. All right, cool. So we've written the roll to hit and the roll sword damage. So let's compile and run this. All right, so that time the knight did 0 points of damage, didn't hit the dragon. Maybe he'll get lucky this time. Oh yeah, the dragon attacked first, but then the knight did 10 points of damage to the dragon. Okay. All right. So we could Now, repeat this code for the dragon so that the knight and the dragon both attack each other. So actually, let's do that. Okay, let's make it, we'll have a parallel form version of dragon attacks. So all the code from knight attacks is very similar to dragon attacks with some slight differences. So I'm going to change this from knight attacks to dragon attacks. And the dragon's hit bonus and the knight armor class okay. And we're going to pass in the dragon hit bonus when we roll the hit. And now if the roll is greater than the knight armor class, then we're going to roll breath damage. And so we're just going to have to write a method for that. So we have methods to do everything else. We have a roll to hit method that we already wrote. And so we have to write the roll breath damage. So roll breath damage is going to be very similar to roll sword damage. It's just that a breath weapon does a lot more damage. So we're going to say that a breath weapon does 4d6, right? Roll that d6 4 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll end +3 for bonus to the dragon. Okay, we don't have a roll 6 method, so what we're going to do is right here, derivative, it's similar to this method. On your own before. So now we've got a roll 6 and we've got code for the dragon as well. So hopefully, run this. I know we're going to have a problem because we didn't have the call for the dragon. We've got the same kind of arguments that I add the dragon hit bonus and the knight armor class. Okay, we'll do the same damage there as well. It seems like we're just, I don't think we'll the damage right there because we're reusing that everywhere. So we could declare it right here. Actually, I might declare it a little lower. Right inside Walsho before you get damage. Okay. And there. And then don't forget to have the same thing, same line here. Repeat it. It's this dragon attack. Okay. And I like that there's this output about the damage that was done to dragon. And then maybe we'll repeat it after dragon. Dragon did the damage that night. And I feel like there's like repetitive code here, so let's pull this out. We're gonna have knight damage. We have two variables that we can have damage here for attack and damage here for direct attack. We have one system print line right beside all of these things. Basically says um, this many points of damage to the dragon, and dragon is this many points of damage to the knight. And I think that we can just clean this up and nicely do that. Okay, great. All right. It's perfect yet. Get closer. So knight damage recorded here, and drag damage is recorded here. And we're going to print out the drag damage here. We're going to print out the damage. All right, excellent. Right, so let's try running that. Looks like we are missing code for full breath damage. Or there's an error there. So let's take a look. Roll breath damage. And when we roll damage, oh, it's sword damage again. Let's roll breath damage. Okay, so now it's an error that these are actual statements. Let's take a look. They're reachable. They're unreachable because we have these breaks here. So if you hit that, it kicks out the wild trip and it forgets a statement outside the else. So really quick. So we can get to that. If we do that, we'll run forever. So we don't want to do that. So right here, we take a break, get that wild trip. That and just a minute. Let me get to run. So now, on this, let's hit 11 points of damage to the dragon, and dragon down to the next event. Run it again, see who's for it. Knight is not it. So the reason why the dragon keeps hitting the dragon has to do really well because it has good. There we go. Back into 15 points of damage to the knight. Okay, cool. So now we have a battle going on, and they only can hit it once. So we have to fix that. Right? But what I would say is that we made a lot of progress here. So remember, we just started out with this outline and we really fleshed it out. So one thing that's left to do the winner is the dragon drops to 0 hit points and it's dead. There's not going to be time. So a nice hit points. uh, when the knight is damaged, going to potentially kill the dragon. Right? So we're going to change the hit points of the dragon. Sorry, dragon, and we're going to subtract the damage. Oops, it's going to be knight damage, the dragon damage. Okay. And the next is also going to drop. However, pretty much dead. Now, if the dragon drops to 0, or less than 0, it's the knight's hit points has dropped to 0. The knight's vanquished as well. So to handle that situation, so let's say, I think what we can do here is check if dragon hit points is less than 0, less than 0, then dragon is vanquished. Okay, so then we'll do system.out. Right? Same thing's true here for the knight. There's sort of parallel. We're going to check to see if the knight hit points knight is vanquished. All right, so and we should prep here. We should prep the knight hit points so that everyone can see that. Oh, sorry, we don't want to put that there. Let's skip that for right now. It's nice feedback, but we don't need to. Okay, cool. All right. So if that happens, if the dragon is vanquished or knight is vanquished, we want to stop this. All right. So if this makes sense now, let's take a look at what we have here. We determine the knight damage and the dragon damage, and then we do some feedback. We're going to say the knight this much points of damage to the dragon is this damage to the knight, and then we compute the dragon hit points to determine if the dragon is vanquished, and we compute the knight points to determine if the knight is vanquished. And we break if the knight or the dragon is vanquished. So let's try running this. situations rather than more that hit each other. Finally, then it gets dragon enough damage to them. Well, let's try it again. In this situation, the knight is more fortunate, and over time did a bunch of damage, and eventually finishes the dragon. Right. I hope this was really helpful. More to here, but generally gives you the idea of how you can take a problem, create an plan for it, create a set of small problems to solve those small problems, in turn have additional small problems to be solved. But you do it layer by layer. Techniques called top-down design, where you big picture up into smaller problems and work on the smaller problems. It really does help hiding the complexity of the program. It becomes more complex. You can see as we went through this, it definitely became more complex. There's places for improvement here that I want to talk about. So one is that the knight attacks, there's a behavior here where the knight could have a roll and do damage, or the knight could do damage to itself. That's all that needs to be corrected. It's all this stuff made the code a lot more, the program just a lot harder to read, and so this could probably be put off into to process through the if there's a vector. And furthermore, there's a bias towards the if the knight dragon first. Well, if the knight goes down to 0 hit point, the dragon goes down to 0 hit point. This will all choose the dragon. So that's a place for it. All right. Well, I hope you found that